Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Andrew Casey swapped the world of music for the glitz and glamour of the marketing world. Through his initial entrepreneurial endeavours, Andrew discovered the benefits of experiential marketing. Now, with his business Headcase, Andrew is helping brands to connect with their audiences in a purposeful way. Andrew joins us now to discuss experiential marketing and to discuss some of their most memorable campaigns. But Andrew, how did a musical partnership ultimately result in a business collaboration?
Good morning. Thanks a million for having me. Well, so my best friend and I, Olaf, we've been musical buddies since age 11 or 12, and we were in a number of bands growing up. And then around the time when we were going to college, we were taking the band we were in quite seriously. We lost the lead singer. And before getting back into another band, myself and Olaf decided to do something else to maybe make a few quid in the meantime.
And it was your own foray into pedal-powered taxis which first highlighted the benefits of experiential marketing to you.
Exactly. That's it. And at the time, so that was our first kind of business idea. It was funded by advertising, which we knew nothing really about. And when we learned about advertising and the world of marketing, we realized that we weren't really just creating ads. We were actually creating an experience, which was people getting into these eco-cabs, these cycle taxis, and our riders would then become brand ambassadors, and they would be able to talk about the concept and the brand that was sponsoring it and what they were doing for their environmental credentials. So all the while we were doing these things that we didn't really know that we were doing, if you know what I mean. And ultimately it became very successful very quickly because it was touching upon those things that were new. And what we now know is obviously is cultural and social relevance through the eco side of it, but also experiential relevance through that kind of face-to-face interaction and allowing a brand to interact directly with an audience member rather than just sticking their brand on a billboard as it was back then or on a Facebook ad.
And in what ways does Headcase typically implement experiential marketing techniques for its clients today?
Yeah, so I guess these days experiential is something that is really growing. Like in the post-COVID world, consumers are really craving experiential a lot more. Obviously, we've been stuck inside and on Zoom calls for so long. The demand for going out and experiencing festivals or going to restaurants and being together has never been greater. So that represents a really great opportunity for brands to take advantage of that space and kind of insert themselves into that live experience. And it's still quite difficult to kind of to sell experiential. It's a little bit harder to measure or to track than, say, a Facebook ad or digital campaigns that are so data heavy and so metric led. So how you insert them into the campaign, well, previously, they've been seen as this kind of afterthought. So a brand would get all of their big, high-reach campaigns done first, their big TV or their big high-performing campaigns, and then experiential was seen as a kind of a nice to have. But the way that we've had success with experiential is by repositioning it not as nice to have, but ultimately as a kind of a campaign center point, as the most purposeful thing in the campaign, and then build a wider media amplification plan around that. So the experiential doesn't even need to be a giant thing that thousands of people had seen or been at or experienced. It could be a smaller experience, but ultimately it's purposeful and it's meaningful, and then it has an amplification plan around it whereby content which is curated from that experience. In short, I guess you have to really strategically position experiential within a plan and make it not a nice to have. If you have money left over, let's do an event and talk about how great a brand is. That's another thing I find us talking about a lot when doing experiential, is that it's all about how the brand shows up. A brand experiential can't just be like I'm brand X, look at me, I'm great. Like I'm so great, I'm putting on this event to say how great I am. But ultimately, it has to be what the consumer is, what they're showing up for, what the consumer is actually getting from it. And it's that purpose underneath it that is the thing that is talkable and can be amplified further.
Talk to me about the project that you did with Durex.
Yeah, so we work ongoing with Durex, which is a great client with a really great mission, and experiential and engaging in culture is very, very important for that. Ultimately, Durex, they're a condom brand, and the business is selling condoms, but ultimately their remit here, the way that they do that is by positioning themselves as a voice within culture, and we help them to do that. And in particular in Ireland, what their mission is ultimately to help, drive positive conversation around sex and reduce negative stigma around sex and pleasure in Ireland, and just kind of help make Ireland a more kind of inclusive and open environment. We do events for them. We do out of home advertising campaigns. We had a media award nominated campaign for them, a famous out of home poster that didn't fit in the frame to kind of help signify ill-fitting condoms. So that was a really kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of stunt. Yeah, that kind of thing. And it's great when you have brands like that allow you to be a little bit more playful.
And I do think as well that the sense of community associated with a brand is becoming far more important, especially social proof.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. And again, a lot of our work is about localizing something that's actually quite hard to localize. For example, like if it's a brand, we did some really great work last year for Specsavers, which Specsavers is a UK-owned brand, and actually they have all their marketing team over in Guernsey, and they're a fantastically successful business, and all of their marketing collateral and quality is incredible. But they don't have an Irish team here, and it's kind of quite hard to make Specsavers relate to an Irish audience and speak in that language. So oftentimes, and this is not just for Headcase, this is for lots of marketing suppliers here, what our job is often doing is to localize a global message and make it palatable and effective to an Irish appetite. And the work we did for Specsavers went just into Ireland and actually went very, very local community. And we reached out into very, very local communities. And that's a very hard thing to do. But as you pointed upon with the things like Google reviews, that's the most effective. That's some of the most effective testimonial you can get is something real and something local.
Andrew, on the creative side of your house, where do your own team draw their inspiration from? And at this stage, are you using ChatGPT as a brainstorming tool?
We are using it for some research bits. I found it quite valuable. It's an ongoing debate in our place, a sometimes fun ongoing debate, but absolutely its research abilities are fantastic. So if you're looking for historical data and you want it in a certain way, that's hugely valuable. Brainstorming stuff where we get our creative inspiration, I guess, and this is what a lot of creative agencies or creative companies. It's your people and it's your process. What I really, really value is diversity, and not diversity in a fluffy sense, but actually like diverse experiences. So I don't hire people from marketing generally, which is probably a bit mad, but hence Headcase. Like getting that diversity of experience from other industries and bringing it in is really valuable. So automatically Headcase and our kind of headcount and our team feels a little bit different because we're made up of some kind of mad different backgrounds that come together, and that's really valuable. And then the second thing is the process. To be collaboratively creative, so not like an individual creative sitting in an ivory tower writing something amazing. It's about being creative together. And that it takes a process, which again is always changing and ever improving. Just trying to be a really tight, empathetic group of people who enjoy working together, who are not competitive, who are collaborative, who are all working towards the same goal and who are aligned in the overall culture of what we stand for and what we see as great work.
And Andrew, finally, what are your growth plans for Headcase?
We're about 10, 11 people at the moment, and we've experienced significant growth in the last 2 years or so, and this year is looking really, really good. But in terms of our longer term plan, like, we still constantly have the entrepreneurial itch. So and because, you know, in our journey, like, we started with EcoCast, but we've had another couple of preneurs along the way, a couple of other successes and a couple of other scars. The role of Headcase that I see is ultimately creating a very stable, cash generative, innovative communications business, but it's boutique. It's not, you know, it's not 50 people, it's not 100 people. But ultimately, it serves as an incubator for new, more altruistic or social endeavors that we'll create as well. So basically, we will start another new thing or two. We're always cooking up a couple of new ideas ourselves as well. And because we have that entrepreneurial DNA and that, you know, ability to plan communications and marketing plans, that makes us really suited for doing that. So whether that's something we have cooked up ourselves or whether that's us backing somebody else who has a really good, mad idea or something with a really great social cause, that's our kind of North Star.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Andrew Casey from Headcase, and I'd like to thank Andrew for joining me on this morning's show.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.